Goose morning, everyone! It's the first of the month. You know what that means, don't you? You probably do. You're watching what it means right now. It's time for the monthly installment of the Mr. What some plebeians might know as the Megaman Robot Master ranking. If you don't know how this works by now, come on, dude. And if you're watching this series for the first time, hello. Anywho, we'll do another rundown of the rules real quick. We take a Robot Master and put them through 10 different categories, with them being able to earn up to 10 points per category. This will allow us to give them a final score anywhere from 0 to 100 points. And then we can put them above or below other Robot Masters, and I can feign objectivity about it to piss off as many people as possible. I jest, I do try to keep it somewhat objective. It's a moderately quick and easy romp. And with just 3 games left, I'm beginning to feel that the end is coming near. There's still time to make a new Mega Man game so I can add a 12th part to this series, Capcom. Time is ticking. That's all I can really think to add at the start of this video at the moment. After 8 of these now, it's certainly getting tough to find unique things to say for the intros. It doesn't help that working full-time can really suck the creativity out of you. I don't know how people do it. You could remedy that by... Goodness, no, I shan't shill. Surely not. Anyways, what game are we talking about? Oh yeah, Mega Man 9. I spoke about this game briefly before, and I don't really intend on spending much time on it in this video. Mainly because it's just a shame to see the style of these games go from this to this. Like, I'm not crazy, right? I was a big fan of seeing the evolution of the art style after all that time, so seeing it regress for the sake of being retro was kind of a shame. Not only that, but it removed stuff like the charge shot and slide, which had become staples of the games long before that point. I get that they were going for the old school style, but that doesn't mean you have to have old school gameplay. That shit evolved for a reason. I don't know, that's just me. I'm sure it's a fine game and all, my Mega Man play history is a little bit spotty. But what I will say is that the Robot Masters certainly don't hold back in terms of design. I quite like the gallery of bosses they made for this game, so how's about we get started? Concrete Man! A robot who I believe to be a very strong start to Mega Man 9, at least when it comes to design. I hear a lot of the critics at the time commented on the game's lack of creativity in terms of level design, but I won't let that dock his score. I find myself to be a big fan of Concrete Man's look. I'm a sucker for construction/cautionary stuff, and that's just the type of vibes he conveys with the yellow, orangish, and white color. It's also just hard for me to not love a Robot Master when they've got one of them big old jaws. Another thing is the level of detail of this guy, and frankly all the Robot Masters for Mega Man 9. Despite harkening back to the olden days for this game, they didn't simplify the Robot Master designs to that level, which I am grateful for because I'm a big fan of this level of detail. It feels just right. Though I will say, I'm not sure what the point of these head spikes are. Overall, I'd say he's just about good. I'd give him an 8 for design and a 7 for creativity. For purpose, Concrete Man was built to be the supervisor of dam construction. Specifically supervisor? I guess that's a suitable purpose, but I was expecting some kind of active construction role for him, especially with the abilities he has. Though he does kind of have the same bossy foreman vibe that Guts Man also had, so it makes sense in that light. I also just feel hesitant about giving any artificial intelligence a supervising role, but I gotta think about these robots like they're from the far future, where they're probably a lot safer. Except that they regularly get taken over to cause havoc in this future, so, it's a bit of a tough call. I'll give him a 6 here. For personality, we unfortunately have less to go off of for the later games. This one was not fortunate enough to be as popular or get as many additional story supplements as the early games in the series, but there is still a little to go off of, and go off I will. Concrete Man is described as a dedicated worker who has no tolerance for laziness, but has a stubborn streak. So what I'm hearing is that this guy is not the best boss ever. I know I certainly wouldn't want to work under him. I mean, I couldn't really do that kind of work anyways. I make YouTube videos about video games for God's sake. Well, regardless of my physical capabilities, I'm going to give Concrete Man a 5 here. For weapon, we've got ourselves a good one. This boss fires the concrete shot, which is described as a glob of concrete that solidifies into a block when it comes into contact with anything. It will then disintegrate a few moments after. I'm surprised the knowledge base itself uses the descriptor globs. but that's probably just because I think that word is funny and ridiculous. I'll give him an 8 here. For safety and utility, I just have to work under the assumption that he can shoot regular concrete and not exclusively the rapidly disintegrating stuff. If that's the case, then Concrete Man could prove quite useful for more crafty folks, or people that are just really sick of the fucked up sidewalk by their house. He's about as dangerous as a regular cement mixer, minus the arms and legs and intelligence, of course. I think I'd give him like a 5 for safety and a 6 for utility. For intimidation, yeah, Concrete Man gets the job done in this department. His eyes being kind of obscured by his helmet head helps him out a lot here, because this is not a particularly intimidating color scheme to me. I'd give him like a 7 here. For music, this is an interesting start to Mega Man 9. This song is breakneck. After that initial drum solo, it's so fast. Arguably too fast, especially for someone with the power to make concrete. I was expecting something a little bit slower, more tough sounding. I'm curious how this song would sound like more slowed down and with a little more focus on the bass. But as it is, it's perfectly fine. I'd give it like a 7. And as for preference, Concrete Man is one of my favorites from this game. Not the favorite, but he's up there. It's interesting how much I've had to think about all these characters for this series. I hardly ever did that for anyone aside from my favorites before this series. Anyways, let's give this guy a 7.54. That looks about right. Now for totals. Concrete Man has solidified himself a score of 66.54%. Pretty good for the first score out of the game, though I tend to be a little forgiving on the first Robot Master, so let's say Concrete Man is average. As for popularity poll scores, Concrete Man is on the lower side, 54%. To be fair, I doubt many of these later game Robot Masters will be as popular as the robots from the first couple of games, but that's not their fault. Probably. Anyways, let's move on. Tornado Man! I have strong feelings about Tornado Man. I'm not sure what it is about him that irks me so, but something about his entire look just gets on my nerves so easily. But why is his head the only aspect of his body that has any theming? Even if you include his arms and those little fins, would anyone consider those flimsy-ass propellers to be powerful enough to create such strong winds as he? And why is he just so boring? Although I can't blame him entirely, because he does have some extra pizzazz. During his fight, his whole lower body becomes a twister, which I think is wicked cool. I don't understand why they wouldn't make that more obvious, whether by altering his lower body for clarity, or just making his lower half a twister in his render here. It is quite odd. I know there are some real Tornado Man fanatics out there, and more power to you, but personally, I just don't see the appeal. It's too little substance for my taste. Not much else to say about him, I just wish they made him look, I don't know, better. I'd give him like a 2 for design and a 4 for creativity. Because I still think that headpiece is kind of cool. For purpose, Tornado Man was created to fend off and potentially fight off powerful storms, which I'll admit is a pretty badass purpose for anyone to have. Just seems like one of the more heroic purposes these robots have had so far. I'd easily give him like a 9 here. For personality, Tornado Man has a bit of bad luck. There's not really much to glean off of the knowledge base. So all I could really give him is my interpretation off of this design. Tornado Man seems like the type to be a bit cocky and kind of aloof, but when it comes to doing his job, he focuses up and works diligently. That's just what I think when I see him, at least. I did also just make that up, so I think I'm gonna have to give him a 2. For weapon, Tornado Man wields the Tornado Blow, which is a screen-wide burst of wind that will blow away weak enemies and projectiles and damage larger ones. It also gives the user better mobility with a higher jump. I'm always a fan of screen-wide attacks, and the fact that this one also increases mobility gets it a couple of extra points in my book. I'll give it an 8. For safety and utility, this is a curious case we've seen previously, but I haven't really mentioned any in particular. A very useful weapon, which just also happens to be dangerous to everyone nearby. Additional mobility, as well as creating powerful bursts of wind, is quite useful, I reckon. Jeez, those Texan roots really came out there. Being real fast is probably real useful, I reckon, I do declare. But aside from that, harsh winds that damage and blow things away makes it kind of hard to use if you're not in a completely empty field. I'd give Tornado Man's weapon a 3 for safety and like a 6 for utility. For intimidation, it's a tough call. He's a pretty stout fella who looks a little bit silly. His big headpiece looks pretty cool and it does add some coolness to him, but aside from that, he's just kind of a little guy. I'd give him a 4 here, probably. Now, for music, this is Tornado Man's big redeeming aspect. This song is like one of the best in the whole series. I don't know what sort of magic they injected into this theme, but oh my god, it's fantastic. It's just perfect. It has clear structure that takes you on an audial journey during your literal journey through the stage, and that final section with the whistly kind of synth is so good. This song easily gets a 10. And as for preference, I was never the biggest fan of Tornado Man, that much is obvious. He just kind of disappoints me. But I don't know, this tends to happen with a lot of these guys. I initially dislike them outright, learn more about them for this specific video, and by the end I'm a little more understanding of their issues. I mean, I'm still not a fan of this design. I'm still gonna give him like a 3.7, but at least I understand. Now it's total time. Tornado Man has blown out a total of 52.7%. Definitely a considerable step down from Concrete Man, but that means whoever comes next is gonna be in a more favorable light when compared to Tornado Man. Oh, I nearly forgot his popularity poll ranking, which has me quite surprised. 63%? That's more than Concrete Man. What is Tornado Man doing differently that Concrete Man didn't? Maybe his stage is just cooler, I guess. I don't know. Maybe in retrospect I should have accounted for the Robot Master's stage design as well for this series. But could you imagine how long it would take to play every stage in the main 11 Mega Man games? I mean, like, I want to get these videos out in a timely manner, and the only way I'd be able to do that is to, like, play Mega Man exclusively in preparation for each video at the first of the month. Ridiculousness. Maybe I'll figure out a workaround to include those in the final compilation of this series. It'll really add a lot of work to it, but it'll be worth it for the perfect version, I guess. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. Let's move on from this chap and move on to a very special Robot Master. Splash Woman! No, ladies and germs, you are not mishearing. Splash Woman, the first and only female Robot Master in the classic series, who is also a boss character. Whew, close one. Apparently the plans were to originally have Splash Woman as Ocean Man, if the concept art is anything to go off of, but I quite prefer the direction they went, because this is one of the most unique Robot Masters in the series. And I don't say that just because she's a girl. This design is really strong. The blue and white with yellow and black accents is a lovely color scheme. The wave decoration on her helmet is chic, and the fact that the overall shape of the helmet looks like a bob, excellent design. I don't really have any complaints regarding her look. Mr. Inafune knocked it out of the park with this one. I give Splash Woman a 9 for design and a 7 for creativity. Excellent work here. For purpose, Splash Woman certainly has a more esoteric one. Most aquatic Robot Masters' purposes are things like water treatment or naval combat and the like, but this time around we have a rescue robot. Splash Woman was created to rescue swimmers from sinking ships, presumably either using her voice to bring them to safety or guiding them with the light from her laser trident, which I personally love. I have no reason to not give her a high score here. Maybe like a 9 or something. That's about right. For personality, Splash Woman is a talented but shy singer who is fond of karaoke, but is not fond of crowds. She has also supposedly turned down many invitations to enter the show business. It's a bit of a short description, but it's better than Tornado Man, who I had to literally make shit up for. So we'll give her a decent score, because the contrast of being very talented but also shy is a cute character quirk. I give her a 7. For weapon, Splash Woman wields the Laser Trident, which fires out 2 lasers with trident heads that pierce enemies. Admittedly pretty cool looking. I was kind of hoping for, like, some kind of 3-way spread shot mimicking the trident's 3 prongs, but I'll take what I can get. Tridents are cool. I'll give her an 8 here. Now for safety and utility. She seems to be relatively safe, with the only killer thing she has being her singing voice. Oh, and the Laser Trident. So forgetful today. I will say that being a half fish might hurt her utility, assuming that she only has peak mobility when in the water, which I would assume, since, you know, fish lady. So I'd give her a 7 for safety and a 5 for utility. Now for intimidation. Despite having a more supportive role in the Mega Man universe, such a composed and confident character still easily holds an aura of power behind it. And tridents are also just very powerful and imposing weapons. I'd give her a 7 for intimidation. Second to last, we have music. Tornado Man's theme is a hard act to follow, but this one is still quite good. I'll say the progression of this one is a little less tangible compared to the other themes. It feels kind of samey throughout up until the last segment, which I quite like. I also like the specific key they put this one in. Well, maybe not the key specifically. I'm not sure what it is, but it has a very different vibe compared to a lot of other Robot Master themes. It's certainly unique, but I don't think I'd call it a favorite of mine. I think I'll give it a 6. Now for preference... Yeah, I like her. Not to hop on the bandwagon, but she's rad. Cool design, cool weapon, cute personality, just a pretty rounded character overall. I'd give her an 8.55. Now for totals. Splash Woman has lured in a total of 73.55%. Impressive. The best we've seen so far out of Mega Man 9. For good reason. Everyone else has been alright, but Splash Woman is a real winner. Though to be fair, we are only like 3 Robot Masters in, so let's not count anyone else out yet. And as for her popularity poll score, 73% as well. Yay, twinsies! You love to see it. Anyways, that's Splash Woman for you. Very cool and awesome. Moving on. Plugman!
Oh, look at this little cutie!
I love this guy. He's one of my favorites. Well, I mean, I have a lot of favorites, so I have a feeling that he wouldn't be super high up on the list due to how many Robot Masters I like, but just because the club isn't exclusive and maybe a little crowded doesn't mean that I don't love them all. Let's get into it now. For one, he's got that cute face. A lot of earlier Robot Masters have this kind of face, and it's a very charming look. Aside from that, that magenta color is a very strong color for him. And the prongs on his body? Well, I'm not sure what they're for, but it adds some cool visual detail, alongside the arguable excess of screws. His plug hand is also really, really cool to me. I'd love the idea of him being able to use it as like some kind of grapple to shock and debilitate other robots. He doesn't do this, mind you, that's just what comes to mind when I see a dude with a plug hand. I'd give him a 10 for design and a 9 for creativity. For purpose, Plugman was designed to be a quality control inspector at a television factory. I don't know how the giant plug or shoulder prongs help with that, but I'll be damned if it doesn't feel fitting for him. I'll give him a 7 here. For personality, Plugman is described as a real geek who enjoys browsing electronic stores and talking about geeky shit with his friends. Oh man, this just made me think. I've seen some Robot Master Wiki entries state that they have some rivalries and even hold respect for some other Robot Masters, but I wonder which Robot Masters are friends with others. The web of relationships is probably fascinating. Anyways, I do love myself a little nerdy guy, as I'm a little nerdy guy myself. I just wish that he had a little more going on than just being a little dorky boy. I'll give him a 6 here. Now for weapon. The Plasma Ball. This is a projectile that travels along the ground to shock enemies, which sounds quite familiar to other Robot Masters' weapons. It's fine enough, I suppose, just something we've seen before. I'd give it a 5. Now then, safety and utility. I imagine this guy is just brimming with electricity, including those conductive metal prongs that are just jutting out of his body and arm. I'd say he's quite the dangerous specimen in this case. However, surely being able to manipulate electricity and plasma balls would probably be useful? I'm not sure. I just wish I could give this guy some higher numbers. That'll be a 4 for safety and a 6 for utility. For intimidation, listen, Plugman, I love you. You know I love you so much. You're my little babushka. But you're just not scary at all. You're like 3 apples tall. I hate to do this to you, but like 90% of Robot Masters are more intimidating than you. I'll have to give him like a 1 here. Next is music. And this one is quite nice. It feels the most like one of the classic Mega Man tracks of the ones we've listened to from this game. It comes down to that kind of like electronic percussion sound in the background. It's kind of subtle. It almost sounds like a printer. It's like the sound that's in a couple of the Robot Master themes from the first 2 games. I think this theme is good. It's just short. I'd have to give him a 7 here, I guess. Finally, preference. Plugman is without a doubt my favorite Robot Master from Mega Man 9. though it's close between him and Splash Woman. But in the end, at least here, Plugman has won, and will be awarded with the special Soul 10 score for this game. He's just such a cutie, and I think weaponizing an electronic plug is so creative. Big fan. Anywho, let's total this up. Plugging these numbers into our equation, which is addition. Listen, I was just trying to shoehorn a plug pun in there. Anyways, Plugman has a total of 65%. Honestly, not particularly high for someone I gave my 10 in preference to. Well, it's a shame. But you know what? 65% is a blessing, because his popularity poll score is not much better. 50%. Like, what? What did Plugman do to deserve that? I've said it before, but like 50 is abysmal, like one of the worst scores you could possibly get. That's not fair to him. What a shame. Anyways, we're at the halfway point of Mega Man 9 now, and our track record is not looking so good. Hopefully the back half is a little bit better. Hey there! We're at about the halfway point, so here's a mid-roll. If you have YouTube Premium or you're using an ad block, then good for you, I guess. No ad. Back to the video. Jewel Man! He's like Crystal Man, but good. Okay, I jest. But not really. This guy is a surprising amount of ornate for the sort of classic vibes that they were going for with this game, but it makes a lot of sense for Jewel Man to be absolutely blinged out. It'd be weird if he wasn't like that. Moving on, Jewel Man is a pretty good-looking robot master. I love the main colors are black and white with just dashes of pink from the gems. I like how the gems on the chest kind of resemble a necklace, and the bracelets resemble, well, bracelets. I will say I think the belt of gems is a little bit much, but it's still fine. Personally, I'm gonna give Jewel Man an 8 for design and a 7 for creativity. For purpose, Jewel Man was built to work in a diamond mine, specifically cutting and polishing rocks. Seems like an oddly dirty job for someone who looks like they'd care a good bit about their appearance, but whatever. I'd give it a 6. For personality, there isn't a lot to go off of here, again. All it says in the knowledge base is that he's an attention hog and likes to collect shiny objects. It's about what I'd expect and all, but I don't know, give me some more. That's a 3. For weapon, we have another fabulous barrier ability, the Jewel Satellite. It's about the same as all the other shield powers, and due to that lack of innovation, it has become a very underwhelming weapon class. I'll give it like a 4 here. Now, for safety and utility, Jewel Man seems pretty safe in comparison to a lot of the other Robot Masters we've covered in this series, excluding the big spike on his head. He just seems to have a knack for rock cutting and gem polishing. Doesn't seem like too bad of a deal. Not to mention that his ability could prove useful in other aspects outside of just rock cutting and polishing. Though, if he had a power akin to Crystal Man's, just being able to create gems at will, Jewel Man would be a massive moneymaker. But alas, I'm not here to hypothesize. I give Jewel Man an 8 for safety and a 5 for utility. For intimidation, I'm not gonna pretend like he's some kind of beast that sends shivers down my spine, but he's definitely not on the lower end in terms of intimidation. I'd give him like a 5 here, sure. For music, Jewel Man's theme fucking rips. This track rocks. That second section with the higher-pitched plinky synth is so good. Real easy to get pumped up listening to that one. I only wish it were longer. The song deserves it. I'd give it a 10. And for preference, well, I suppose he's pretty cool. Mega Man 9 is definitely one of the games I kind of gloss over the most when thinking about this series. None of these Robot Masters really jump out at me much in comparison to the earlier games. I can't deny that Jewel Man is a flashy fella who doesn't do anything to irk me, so I think I'll give him a 6.79. Now for total time. Jewel Man has pieced together a grand total of 61.79%. Still on the lower side, but I suppose it fits. Is it obvious yet that I'm running out of flavor text to put here in between these Robot Masters? It's getting tough. I'm sorry. For popularity poll scores, he's on the less favorable side. 55%. This one's odd to me. Jewel Man seems like one of those Robot Masters that would be incredibly popular in niche spaces, and I figured that niche group of fans would have really helped boost him up in the ranks. But I suppose Jewel Man doesn't quite have the social power I thought he might have. Poor guy. Let's just move on now. Hornet Man! Golly, this is probably one of the strangest directions they could have taken this guy, huh? I'm sure the easy way to make this guy would have been an actual hornet or bug type shape, rather than some honeycomb-shaped things. The concept art is proof enough of that and how it might have looked. Though, honestly, I think the direction they went was more interesting. Do I think it was better? Debatable, but it's more interesting to talk about, which is good for this video. Instead of being a hornet himself, Hornet Man is more like a hornet's nest. Or at least the inside of it. I know they look like gray balls with a hole in them otherwise. Oftentimes this will just be a generic shoulder pad shape, you know the type. So I'm glad it looks interesting. Another thing I haven't really seen on any other Robot Masters is that sort of brim, like eye shield looking thing above his eyes. It's small, but it adds a lot of character. I'm surprised there hasn't been another Robot Master with that until now. Aside from those, the yellow, black, and brown is a pretty good color scheme, especially with the stripy coloring on the legs. Pretty good look overall. I'd give Hornet Man like a 5 for design and an 8 for creativity. For purpose, he was built to manage a flower park, releasing a swarm of robot hornets from his chest. This is a very cute purpose, and I imagine he would have some companionship and synergy with Plant Man. Robo-hornets are cool, and I wouldn't be surprised if we ended up seeing something similar to this in the near future. With bees having a high number of endangered species, implementing robot hornets to help out seems like an easy solution. But of course, then we would have robotic hornets, and that just sounds like an evil idea. Anyways, gardening is a cute purpose for a robot. I'll give him a 9. As for personality, drats! Cursed again! Hornet Man doesn't have very much. All it says is that he loves gardening. Like, no shit. I would hope he likes doing the thing he was built for. Though, it would be interesting to see a completely rebellious Robot Master who doesn't remotely want to do their job. That's probably already been done, but I've spoken about so many of these guys at this point that they're all kind of meshing together in my head like some kind of soup. I'll give Hornet Man a 2 for personality. For weapon, Hornet Man wields the Hornet Chaser. Shocker. It just summons Hornet drones to fly around, stinging enemies, and even retrieving items for you. It's a weapon that I assume has a crazy amount of control, with each drone obeying the wishes of its wielder as to what's friend or foe. Otherwise, the Hornets would just be attacking random people while Hornet Man is trying to guard him. I'll give him a 10 for weapon. Very cool stuff. For safety and utility, we have a decent change of pace. While a lot of Robot Masters pose a ton of threat with fewer use cases, Hornet Man seems to be much more versatile. The Hornet Swarm could be incredibly useful for a number of tasks, bonding together to carry, collect, and attack things for you. And the best part is how safe they are, since you are in direct control of what they should and shouldn't attack. The only points I could really dock are like the big spike on its head. I can't imagine that's particularly safe. I'd give him an 8 for safety and a 10 for utility. For intimidation, normally I don't often see yellow as an intimidating color, more pleasant than anything. That's why I made it my background. Well, normally. I know in this series it's blue, but shut up. The visor, top spike, and broad honeycomb shoulders, however, are certainly a big help. Oh, also the big swarm of hornets. Ugh, scary. I'd give him a 7 here. Now we have music. This one is pretty good. It's not one of the greatest of all time, but it does certainly have the vibes of one of the classic themes, much more so than a lot of the themes from Mega Man 9. And for that it gets some points. However, it doesn't really jump out at me in any particular way. It feels kind of samey throughout. Still a good song, I just don't think it's going to be winning any awards is all. I'll give his theme a 7. Finally, there's preference. Hornet Man initially felt a lot more boring until I researched him further. It's a different case than some of the other Robot Masters, where I think, oh yeah, I didn't remember them until making this video. Because I did remember Hornet Man. I just thought he was lame. But now I've come around. I think he's quite swell, and I'd say that warrants something like, 7.32. Okay, it's total time now. Hornet Man has managed to swarm his numbers together for a total of 73.32%. One of the better scores from this game. Good effort from Hornet Man, sitting comfortably with the good Robot Masters. Though, with a more fleshed out personality, he could have easily sat a league above the rest in the high 70s. As for popularity poll score, I'm glad it's what it is, but I'm shocked it's that high. 65%. Not a ridiculously large score, but Hornet Man seems like the type to have an angry mob following him around for how silly he looks. I mean, I'm glad that's not the case. Let's move on. Magma Man! I'm shocked this one didn't happen way sooner. A Magma-based Robot Master seems like a no-brainer. But I suppose we have to exhaust most synonyms for fire before moving on to Magma. Fair enough. Anyways, let's talk about the Magman. He's on the more unique side of Robot Master shapes, especially with both his shoulders adding two smaller volcanoes surrounding the larger center volcano on his head. Speaking of, I love the gold plating on top of the volcanoes. That's a really cool look. Unless it's supposed to be orange, like superheated metal, and in that case it's even cooler. I do think the white on the shoulders looks nice, but without any red on them or white anywhere else on the design, it feels a little messy. Anyways, not a terrible design at all. It does a fine job. I think I'd give him a 7 for design and an 8 for creativity. For purpose, Megaman was created to oversee safety operations and manage a geothermal power plant, and was modeled after an incinerator. That's neat, but I don't know if putting a mini volcano in a geothermal power plant is particularly smart. He could probably power one all by himself since, you know, he's Magma Man. I'll give him a 5 here. For personality, oh man, these poor bastards. All Magma Man has is that he loves to visit hot spas. That gives me a vague idea of what other aspects his personality has, but you don't get points in this category by being mysterious, unless that's your whole shtick. Magma Man gets a 3. For weapon, we are wielding the Magma Bazooka, a volley of 3 balls of magma, dealing massive damage if you can hit all 3. It can also be charged, increasing the size and strength of the shots. It's a pretty cool ability to have, though I will say this. If there were any Robot Master to have a powerful screen-wide attack, I thought it was going to be Magma Man, with some kind of eruption theme. So the bazooka is a strange way to take it, but it's fine. I'd give him like a 7. Now for safety and utility. Certainly a tough one for this guy, huh? Well, I can't in good faith give him higher than a 1 for safety, because, come on, he's Magma. And as for utility, can you think of any everyday uses for lava aside from charring the landscape? I can't. Plus, he doesn't have hands, just bazooka arms. So that's gonna be a 1 for utility. I think this is the first time a Robot Master has gotten a terrible score in both safety and utility. Normally, a Robot Master will get a good score in one or the other, but yeesh. Magma's pretty niche in its use cases, alongside being extremely dangerous. Tough break for Magma Man. Here, however, is a category Magma Man should have no problem scoring high in. Intimidation. If you don't feel at least a little bit uneasy at the thought of a volcano robot, I don't know, I'm sorry. I wish you could be scared easier. But that's about all there is to it. I feel like Magma Man warrants a 9. Next is music, and this one's a jam. I'm a big fan of the melody in this one. That bridge section in particular I love. The whole song has pretty defined structure though, which I value. Each section feels different. The only gripe I have is how short the theme is, which seems to be a running theme. It feels like a really short loop. Not that it makes me dislike the song that exists, it just makes me wish there was more. A shame, but it's fine as it is. I'll give him an 8. Finally, we have preference. Listen, how could you not love a character that can be described with the words volcano robot? Don't lie now. Aside from that concept being cool, it's just a nice design and a fun theme song. I feel confident in giving him like an 8.07 here. That'll do. Now for total score. Magma Man has earned himself a total of 57.07%. A pretty balanced score, though he did kind of get butchered by his personality, safety, and utility scores. Such is the way of the living volcano, I suppose. As for the popularity poll, he's got a fair score, 59%, neighboring his actual score. I always like seeing the scores match, or at least be close to each other. It's nice and cozy, even if it may be a little boring to see both scores be about the same. Anyways, we're down to our last Robot Master for Mega Man 9. Let's see if he can bring it home for this game. Galaxy Man! Look at this silly little freak. He looks like a bug. I love him. Mega Man 9 has a pretty good streak of Robot Master originality, excluding Tornado Man, but Galaxy Man more than enough makes up for it. We've never seen a funny-looking guy like this before. The pure black and white look definitely makes him look really space-like, aside from, just being a flying saucer. Though he is capable of changing his color, and at a rapid pace too. Definitely adds to the weirdness factor he has already stacked up high. I'm also noticing some Astro Man DNA, namely the hand structure and the black screen eyes with red pupils. On top of that, he also has an alternate form, retracting his arms and legs to fly around, and in that form he looks like most fictional depictions of a UFO. This guy looks proper cool, very much alien, which seems like what they were going for. That's a 7 for design and a 6 for creativity. For purpose, Galaxy Man was created to work at a space research center, calculating rocket trajectories with incredible speed. A really cool concept for a robot to have, but I don't know why a supercomputer couldn't just do this for you. I suppose that is the plot of Mega Man 9, with a bunch of robots being outmoded and Dr. Wily taking them in, offering to repair them, though of course he has ulterior motives. That bastard. Anyways, I'm getting distracted. I'll give him an 8 for purpose. Next we have personality. Yet another very empty one. The way this one is worded, however, gives him a little more, wiggle room? That's not right. It alludes to much more in terms of personality. Galaxy Man loves observing the stars and likes to name new ones he finds. It gives him an air of curiosity and whimsy, something I understand and value greatly. So there's still not a lot to go off of, but what we do have is pretty cute. I'll give him a 6 here. For weapon, we've got something truly terrifying, the Black Hole Bomb. This is a small orb that moves forward and, after a moment, turns into a black hole that will suck most enemies in and defeat them instantly. Any large enemies just get damaged by the gravitic forces, I imagine. The Black Hole Bomb is fucking awesome. Black holes are just really cool, though I worry about the danger of spawning black holes. They don't last forever though, so there has to be some kind of kill switch attached to them, which is revolutionary science. I mean, for us it is. For them it's 20XX. That's probably boring to them now. However, I don't live in the year 20XX. I live in the 2020s. So I'm giving the Black Hole Bomb a 10. Now for safety and utility. It's very night and day in terms of score. Galaxy Man is very dangerous, solely for the reason that he can create black hole bombs. Aside from that one thing, he seems pretty harmless, more cute than anything. But the pure destructive power of his weapon cannot be understated, I feel. So that's a 1 for safety. However, the usefulness of a super intelligent robot that can fly around cannot be understated either. I have to give him a 10 for utility. Extremely useful, but extremely dangerous specimen. High risk, high reward. For intimidation, the power of weaponry can only get you so far when you look like a little cutie pie. I can't help but find him cute, the little UFO fella. Black holes are still very scary though. That's a 6 for him. Up next is music, and we've got another banger on our hands, ladies and germs. That initial melody is so catchy, the structure is strong, and the song's length isn't too short either. This one gets a lot right. I feel quite comfortable giving Galaxy Man's theme an 8. Now for preference. And honestly, what's not to like? This whole portion of this video has just been me gushing about how cute this little bastard is, and how evil his little power is. Scary little mister. Despite that, I'm happy giving him something like an 8.25. Finally, let's do our little total game. Galaxy Man has amassed a grand total of 69.25%. A pretty middle-of-the-road score for a cool-ass robot master. Poor guy's safety stat kind of killed his chance of getting into the 70s. Poor little flying saucer man. As for the popularity poll score, Galaxy Man is getting exactly what he deserves, with one of the highest scores we've seen in this entire series. 75%. Perfectly warranted, if you ask me. And if anyone disagrees, I don't know, that's fine. Disagree all you like. But you can't deny the facts for long. And the fact is, Galaxy Man is cute. Okay, that's all 8 Robot Masters taken care of for Mega Man 9. Let's see what we've got here. This group of Robot Masters don't have as high of a disparity in score compared to some of the other games. Though none of the scores we've come across from this game have broken the mid-70s barrier, and that mainly comes from the lack of a proper fleshed out personality for a lot of them. A lot of these guys only have a single sentence in the knowledge base. Some of them don't even have that, both of which can be a huge detriment to their scores. It just comes down to how much external media they've been in a lot of cases, because that's where a lot of the personality quirks come from. Many of these later Robot Masters were more relegated to cameos, which is just unfortunate for them, but they did a pretty good job regardless. Anyways, let's do our little ranking. From worst to best, here are all of the Robot Masters from Mega Man 9. Tornado Man, Magma Man, Jewel Man, Plug Man, Concrete Man, Galaxy Man, Hornet Man, and Splash Woman at the tippy top. The disparity between first and second place was only 0.23 points though, so it's basically a tie at the end there. And as for numbers that don't matter, the total combined score of every Robot Master from Mega Man 9 comes out to 519.22%, which is just about in the middle of the road here. So, a bunch of average Robot Masters make out to have an overall average game score. So, good job, I suppose. So to make a long story short, Mega Man 9 was just a pretty average addition to the series, but kind of a dropped ball in my opinion, taking a number of steps back for the sake of being retro and all that, and sacrificing the previous game's art direction and abilities that have been built up across the previous 8 games to go back to the original 2. Thankfully, they take a step in the right direction with the next game. Personally, not enough of a step forward for me, but it's something. But we'll have to save that for another time. Until next month, my friends, I'll see you for Mega Man 10. Anywho, that's going to be all I've got for today's video, so I would absolutely love it if you could stay a moment while my secretary Bonnie shows you some art, and I talk about some of my other ventures I think you might enjoy. If you're wondering why my channel has become lacking in speed paints, music, shitposts, and the like, that's because the shorter content has been moved to my second channel, Goose's Golden Gallery. Basically anything not long form goes over there. So if you're more of a fan of my artistic endeavors, I'd give it a follow. It'll be in the description, alongside my TikTok, Blue Sky, and Newgrounds, if you'd be interested in following me on those as well. Also, I have a Discord server, the Honk House. That's where me, my friends, and all my viewers hang out, and talk, share art, and occasionally have like game nights and watch parties and whatnot. It's a fun little community, so feel free to join and chat. Might I also suggest becoming a channel member? I call them headliners because it sounds cooler. I'm not sure how to get people to actually join, because they get a ton of benefits from it. Access to emotes on streams, first dibs on watching new videos, a private channel in the Discord server, and a credit at the end of videos that includes a little doodle of you. To get that doodle though, you'll have to join the Discord server to let me know how you'd like me to draw your head. All that for only $3-ish a month is a pretty killer deal in my opinion. But hey, I'm just the guy shilling, so take that with a grain of salt. Finally, if you have any fan art of me you'd like to share, tag me in it on social media or post it in the channel of my Discord server and I'll put it at the end of my videos. With credit, of course. I'm not a monster. Okay, that's everything for me today, so let's wrap things up. My name is Goose. I thank you very much for watching, and oh boy am I running out of steam here. Just 2 episodes left of this series and then I can rest, but golly, I'm exhausted. Remind me to never try tackling such a monumental project like this again. At least not while working on my normal videos too. I won't get lazy though, don't get it twisted. Anyways, have a goose night, and sweet dreams.